Have you ever dreamed of owning your very own parcel of whitetail woods? Well, I'm Matt Drury, and this is a special Gamekeepers edition of DoD TV. This segment of DoD TV is brought to you by Mossy Oak Gamekeepers, your ultimate resource for wildlife and land management. The ability to plot and plan for whitetail movement on a new piece of dirt can be quite intimidating, but rewarding. And trust me, I am learning the hard way as we speak. Last year, Dad was on a mission to convert 240 acres in northern Missouri into the ultimate land manager, whitetail hunter, turkey killing, mega mecha machine. Let's join up with Old Man Winter as he tries to get a little piece of that pie. Take it away, Terrence.
You know, we're going to talk briefly here about either leasing a new parcel of property or even buying a parcel of property. You know, it's nice to know what those neighbors in that area are doing, because all your efforts may not be productive if your neighbors aren't really on the same page and they're not doing the same thing that you're doing. And what's been coming out of that area, if you can do a little bit of investigative work and find out what kind of deer, what kind of genetics, then all of a sudden your work's kind of cut in half. Be very, very cognizant of access, what type of structure it has, being able to slip in and out of there without getting detected, and then really what kind of wind directions are you going to have. You know, a lot of guys don't think of that on the front end, but it's very, very important.
Here's the plan. We came in here the other day and we talked about putting a food plot in this flat. And what a great spot this is. We've got a huge bedding thicket just to our east here. All this is solid timber. And we're wanting to try and, somehow implement this area into this destination feed field. We're going to put corn down here. There's already a beautiful, lush biologic clover plus field. We're going to put corn backed up to that to kind of hide that field. And then I want some landing strip here where they can come out of their bedroom, sit here, nibble a little bit before they go down into these bottom fields. And we're trying to pick a tree. Boy, those two right there are perfect for what we do.
You know, what are we looking for when we're talking about scouting for a tree stand location? Really, we're looking at structure more than anything. Is there a saddle in a ridge where you know bucks are going to be crossing over the top of that? Is there areas where you can throw your wind over a pond, a lake, a big deep ravine where your wind isn't going to do you any damage? All of those are crucial strategies that you want to have in the back of your mind, but structure is probably number one, and accessibility. You know, if you can get in and out of there without doing much damage and you're not harming the deer herd that you're hunting, then by all means that's half the battle.
We will more than likely have to work this soil up. They came in here and they got rid of a bunch of those cedars and trees and what have you, so we got some big holes in the ground. But when we get in here, we'll disc it up, maybe slide the cultivator over a little bit. We're working with somewhat of an existing food plot. There's a big biologic clover plus field there. If it wasn't there, I would put this in clover and I would have that in beans and corn. And we may ultimately end up doing that, but for now we're going to go ahead and utilize the clover because it's absolutely beautiful. It's real lush, it's tall, so we're going to try and utilize that to our advantage. But we're going to put some sort of little staging area. We may go with late beans here, something that's going to be green, and then we'll have something a little bit later on. So we might end up putting beans here. If we don't go with beans, we're definitely going to put some biologic here. So that's the plan. We've got it mowed. We also mowed a little area over here where we're going to wrap that corn around our clover field and dive it right into the timber so it butts up there. We're creating a blocking crop, something that, number one, people on the opposite side can't see in and the deer can't see out. We're going to create a kind of a safety zone for them. I think implementing this into the staging area before they go into the destination feed field is going to be really, really crucial. So let's hop on the buggy and we'll go a little further.
Sometimes we really try to achieve a variation in height. You know, standing soybeans versus a standing field of corn, or even biologic, let's say that's 12 or 15 inches tall if you've had the moisture, or even a clover plus field. You know, you're talking about different elevations, and deer love those edges. If you can create an edge and you've got a standing corn field that's on one side and you either have standing beans or biologic or clover, all of a sudden you've created an inside corner. And we try to do that on a regular basis. We pick the tree and then we plant accordingly. But those variations of height also give you a little bit of an advantage. The first time I popped over that hill and I overlooked this entire bottom, it's breathtaking when you see it. It's absolutely gorgeous, stunning. got a beautiful ridge here and big bottom field. But in my mind, I was sitting there thinking, it's too big. It is way too big for a whitetail to feel secure out here during daylight hours. So how do you do that? How do you fix that? In our mind, to try and do that, we're gonna cut it down in size. We're gonna create some structure, create a little height. We're gonna do that with corn. Standing corn, if you can get them to grow 10, 11, 12 foot tall, down in this beautiful bottom field, all of a sudden they're gonna feel a little bit more secure. We got this beautiful, lush, biologic Clover Plus field here, but they're a little apprehensive to come out here during daylight hours because of the openness. So we're gonna go ahead and line this or encapsulate this Clover Plus with standing corn. And we're hoping that standing corn, because of the visibility, will make them feel a little bit more secure in coming out here during daylight hours. It's one of the best whitetail farms I've ever looked at. We're excited to put our footprint on it and see what we can grow here. You know, it's not always easy to identify a bedding area. On this particular parcel, this was a no-brainer. Big patch of timber on a kind of a southwest-facing hillside. We knew late season these deer were going to be in there. It's just one of those areas that absolutely kind of gets your eyes are like lit up when you walk in there and you say, oh my God, this is a no-brainer. Should be able to bop one here pretty easily. On this south half, we're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to encapsulate it and kind of cut it down in size. We're going to go 4 or 5 rows wide, give them a little bit more security, and then the rest of this field we're going to put in beans. We'll come in, we'll tear it up just a little bit with a disc, then we're going to broadcast the beans over the top of it. Just to the south of that, we're going to put in a small biologic plot. They had one there that last year. They got a tree stand hanging, and we're probably going to sit that big tree over there, but we're going to put biologic there again this year. Well, I can't stress or overstate how important food is. You know, October, November hits, we want to make sure those does are coming to those food plots. We want to make sure that those bucks are checking those food plots, and we want to make sure that they're doing it with regularity. So a variety of food source, a smorgasbord of food is the answer. 1 is good, 2 is better, 3 or 4 is the best. When you've got a big bottom area like this, it's really difficult to get a whitetail to walk across this during daylight hours. It's just too big, it's too expansive. They may trot across it during the rut, but it's something they don't feel very comfortable in. So we're gonna plant food here, and we're gonna use the corn as structure. You know, that 11, 12 foot of corn, that extra height, gives them a little bit more security. And 2 of the things that I'm trying to do, we're encapsulating Clover Plus. We're going to encapsulate the beans, both of them with corn blocking crops, so that the deer on the north half of the farm cannot see the deer on the south half. You know, sometimes if you get a deer that wins you and the deer on the other end of the field see that, automatically they all clear. Well, we're going to try and block that. We're going to make sure that visibility isn't there anymore. Hopefully we'll be able to get all the corn in within the next day or so. We're going to burn everything first. We're going to burn it off with chemical, and then we'll start tearing it up, and then we're going to broadcast our beans on top. We'll drag something over the top of them, and hopefully we'll get a food plot down here that's conducive to a whitetail, and we can make this thing work. There is more sign and more activity and more tracks than anywhere else on this particular farm. So let's put that muddy bull right in this part of the field and then plant accordingly. Right here where I'm standing is about where I'm gonna put either a scent-proof blind or a muddy. If I can get a muddy down here, I'm gonna put a muddy blind right here. But we got 2 humps right here that I can just see a big whitetail walking off of. You know, one of the things we haven't talked near enough about is access. It can be detrimental to your hunt. Identifying access is always key as far as placing a muddy bull blind, placing a ground blind, hanging a lock on. You want to be sure that you have access to where you can get the right wind in your face. You have security cover that allows you access without going detected. Sometimes it can be 90% of the battle. Last thing you want to do is run the deer out that you're planning on hunting. To me, this entire bottom, I think this is the key to this entire farm, is this bottom, that bedding, getting beans here, having standing corn, that structure where they feel secure coming out. Strategy is one thing, implementing it and then acting on it is totally another. See how it works out. Sometimes we outthink ourselves, or we can overthink things, and it usually will get you in trouble, and it has an adverse effect. There's a fine line between hunting smart and being productive. Put the work in on the early side and then take advantage of it when the time's right. Have the information on your trail camera photos, go in there right times of the year, making sure that you have access. Be disciplined, and over a course of time, as you continue to put the effort out and put it forth, you're going to reap the rewards. You know, it's one thing to plant all that food and have that big, expansive bottom, but it's another thing to say, where are they living? Now we're going to talk a little bit about the timber, about the bedroom, where they live, where they stay, where they rut, and why they live here. You know, that's an important part, and you can only do that certain times of the year. Now's the time to do a bunch of investigative work and start really looking at trails and where they live and where they bed. So we're gonna kind of give you a little bit of a synopsis here, show you another part of the farm. We've talked extensively about the bottoms and where we're gonna be planting corn, beans, and biologic. I wanted you to see what this bedroom looks like. You know, we've got such a selection and such a variety, everything from cedar thickets to some grown-up CRP and just random grasses. They like certain tall grasses to lay there. They like that thermal cover, and that's what the cedar thickets do. It gives them that thermal cover. And then they like the oaks. We love the timber because of the mast crop. You got to have all of it, and it's a variety. It's a smorgasbord, and that's why we're in here. This is the carrying capacity, and that's the reason that you can increase a deer density. I can't wait to see what this does in the next 2 or 3 years. So we're excited. Number one, to have all the food in the bottoms. Number two, to have this bedroom. It's such a natural fit for whitetails. It's one of the best whitetail farms I've ever looked at. It's really a no-brainer. We're excited to, you know, put our footprint on it and see what we can grow here. There's a couple little water holes that are literally inside of their bedroom. And there is a creek that runs all the way from north to south, all the way up along the bottom. But these little water holes in their bedroom and where these travel routes are at, where all the rutting activity takes place, I cannot emphasize or stress how important they are during the rut. Because you can be sitting there and at any time of the day, you can have a buck walk to that water hole and get a drink. So those water holes are lethal. You want to look at the entire parcel and say, okay, how can I get the wind in my face and get into my tree stand without doing any damage? So picking those spots this time of the year is vitally important. You can say, all right, I'm gonna cut just a little bit of a hiking trail or walking trail in here. I know that I can get in here in a short period of time with the wind in my face and make sure that I'm not running any deer out. Particularly if you've got a good food source and you know that they're on those feed fields maybe a little bit later in the mornings, so you can slip into that bedroom before they get there. That's always key and it's always important. So now's the time to be picking those tree stands, and that's what we're doing. And all of those elements are what goes into making a really, really good whitetail farm better, and all of those elements are what really leads to your success.
And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. It is always cool to see a whitetail wizard at work. Don't forget, we're shooting for 100,000 subscriptions here on the Drury Outdoors YouTube channel. All we need is for you to help us out, and in return, you're going to be automatically entered in for a chance at a free PSE bow. Thanks for watching, and until next time, happy game keeping. This segment is brought to you by Mossy Oak Biologics, scientifically proven wild game products.